All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar today. And so if you are trickling in, I would like to ask you to tell us where you're from. So go ahead and hop in the chat. Let us know where you are tuning in from. If you are with us today, then I appreciate your patience. I know that we had some technical difficulties last week, so we rescheduled. So thank you so much for joining us and hopping in. So we do have a couple housekeeping things before I turn it over to our special guest for the day. So thank you for hopping in the chat. Oh, UK and North Carolina. That is where I am from. So hello to both of you. So we have two tabs here. We've got our chat. We've also got Q&A. So if you do have a question, you can drop it in the Q&A and we will have time for that at the end. So again, before we get started, I just would like to say everyone who registered for this event will get a recording of the complete presentation. So keep an eye out for that in your email. We will also be posting this to our YouTube channel as well. So if you come in late or have to hop out early, we have got you covered there. So we'll be doing questions at the end. Everyone will get a recording. And without further ado, you can see I've got a guest here. Very exciting. Always great to have someone join us today. And this is Michelle Jackson. So we're excited to be here. Michelle is an author, entrepreneur, and nonprofit director. And she published her first book, The Heart of a Man, a Christian fiction novel, in 2010. In 2014, the book was awarded the top prize in the Author's Zone annual writers competition, general fiction category. She was also the recipient of the Princeton Literary Review Gold Standard. Her second novel, From Darkness to Night, Book 1, Family Secrets, was released in 2020. It was selected as an award-winning finalist in the American Book Fest Fiction African American category of the 2020 Best Book Awards. Michelle is a contributing writer for the Mount Christian Lifestyle magazine in Pittsburgh and has had articles published in Essence magazine, Biz Magazine New Orleans, Nia Magazine, City Business New Orleans, and many other print and online publications. She was selected as a Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creating Writing Fellow. She blogs at firstmorningthoughts.com and prsbusinessnews.me, and we can drop those links in so you can follow along. Jackson is also the owner of PR Solutions, LLC, a strategic marketing and corporate event planning firm, and I Invest National Youth Business Competition. She is the executive director of Life Skills Foundation and the founder of the Black Writers Workspace online community comprised of over 11,000 Black writers and readers. And she recently launched directtoauthor.com, an online indie book marketing platform. So we are so excited to hear about that. One last sentence here I'll put in addition to her BA degree, Jackson has a master's of public administration from Central Michigan University. And if you didn't know already from all of her contributions to the New Orleans literary scene, that is where she is located. So, Michelle, I hope to one day have a bio as long and prestigious as that. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will turn it over to you. Barbara says, wow, do you sleep? Good question.
I know. Thank you so much, Chelsea. I so appreciate this opportunity to address your Lulu.com family of writers. I'm just so excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, I am Michelle Jackson, and Chelsea did a great job of reading that very long and embarrassing bio of me. I do sleep, and I just like to have a lot of things going on, but trust me, I definitely get my sleep. I have to. I'm a writer, so we all have to get our sleep, right? So I'm so excited to be here with you today, and we are going to talk about those 10 marketing tools. I'm really excited that we can do this. And I'm going to get through my presentation and then we're going to have questions. We'll take questions from the audience. In the meantime, Chelsea, is there anything else that we need to talk about? We can get started.
I think we can get started. Good luck.
Thank you. I'm going to put the presentation on the screen, tell you a little bit about the topic itself. And then we are going to head into this presentation and just learn a little bit about those 10 marketing tools to supercharge your book sales. And so once again, I wanted to thank Lulu.com for allowing me to be a part of this webinar. It is something I've been so excited about because I love talking about writing and I love meeting new writers. So before we get into the heart of what we are here to discuss, which is those 10 marketing tools, I don't want to go over my bio again. It was embarrassing. So I will just say I've written 3 books. One of them Vanity published. One I published myself with Amazon, KDP. And the third book, which is about to be released, I'm not sure how I'm going to publish it, but I'm sure it will be self-published. And I'm so excited to be a writer. I've always wanted to be a writer. However, I grew up in public housing. I didn't have a lot of resources, but I had a lot of books to read, and that's exactly what I did. And I remember being 10 years old and dragging around a typewriter everywhere because I wanted to be a best-selling author. However, I didn't publish my first book until I was 35 years old, and I'm 47 now. And so, like many of you, it took me a long time to get there. But now that I'm here and I'm publishing, I'm so excited, and I love the idea of being a self-published author. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. Direct2author.com is my latest venture, and it's something I definitely wanted to put out there and let everyone know that we now have a marketplace for our self-published books. This is how I connected with Lulu.com. They contacted me and added me to their Partner and Prosper page. So if you're interested in adding your book to our marketplace, please do so. We are making some changes to the website. We did a soft launch in December. We made it a subscription-based platform where you can upload your book and create a dynamic page. However, we are now moving to a service-based platform, and everyone will be able to add their books for free. So please go out and check out direct2author.com. I first wanted to, before we get into our 10 steps, is to welcome you to authorhood and welcome you to entrepreneurship. As Chelsea mentioned, I am someone who loves entrepreneurship. I spent many years working with businesses. I still do. I'm an Urban League business advisor. I ran shopping malls for 10 years. I wrote policy and economic development for the state of Maryland for 6 years. And so entrepreneurship is something that I really do care a great deal about. And I also know that if you are self-published, you are now an entrepreneur, as we would say, but you are an entrepreneur, and your role is to sell your product. And we know that what what entrepreneurs do is solve problems, and they put products into the marketplace. And now you have a product that needs to go into the marketplace. So the question is, what do you need to do in order to sell your book? Now, data tells us that every year, over 1 million books are self-published. And of those 1 million books, most of the authors that self-publish on average will only sell about 250 books. Think about that. All the hard, sweat, and tears you put into publishing, writing, editing, publishing your book, and you will only sell possibly 250. And many of those are going to be friends and family. So you may get 100 that will be sold to a unique reader. Now, we want to diminish that whole myth that we're only selling 250 books. Okay, no one is doing this just for 250, right? We want to sell 250,000 books. We want to sell 2 million books. That's the goal. And so in order to do that, you have to be able to move from the creative to the business person. And that's what we're going to talk a great deal about. So our tools. We have 10 tools that we're going to go over today, and then we're going to take some questions. And what I really want you to do is to begin to ask yourself the question of, am I ready? Am I ready to start promoting my book and to be the business person that is going to be able to move the needle and sell books? And what tools do I need in order to do that? And that's what we're going to talk a great deal about. I have a PR and marketing firm, and I've been working in marketing for a long time. When I got my degree from college, I don't even think I had an email address. Like, there was no social media. It was in the early 90s. And so a lot of the things that I'm going to talk to you about, I had to learn after college and learn on my own and grow into understanding how marketing has transitioned over the years. Now, marketing books have definitely transitioned because 20 years ago, it probably wasn't that many self-published books as we have right now. So you would go the traditional route. You would get a traditional deal, and the publishing company would actually help you market your book. But now that we are taking the ownership, we're more in the do-it-yourself mode. We are having to learn how to do all these things. In order to do that, you have to take the creative hat off and put on the business hat. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So the 10 marketing tools to supercharge your book sales. Some of these things you've seen and heard and read about. Some of these things you know everything about. You're already using them. And then there are some things that you're going to go, I didn't know I could use it in that way. So all these tools I've used one way or another, or I've worked with other writers and other business owners to use them. But before we get into the tools itself, we got to talk about the preparation to make this change. So we're going to talk about trusting the process, creating a marketing strategy, and knowing your brand's power. And then we're going to move into our 10 areas, which is one, social media, public relations, email marketing, blogging, speaking engagements, book fairs, hosting events, website development and SEO, podcasting, and paid marketing. And you may be saying, I already use all of these. Or some of you may be saying, I don't use any of these and I don't know how to. And so we're going to hopefully get you a little bit more comfortable with using these tools today. First step is to trust the process. And what does that mean? Once again, you must move from the writer to the entrepreneur. Okay. The writer is the creative. You're the one who is up at 2 a.m. putting your thoughts on paper. You're the one who's bypassing the dinners with family so that you can get that last chapter done. You're the one who is passionate about making sure the world gets a chance to read your work, no matter if it's nonfiction, fiction, sci-fi, children's, spiritual, it doesn't matter. You want the world to connect with your work. Now, when you move to the entrepreneur, now you are saying, now I've got to sell this product. And so in order to do that, you go from the creative person, the creative space, to someone who's thinking about finances and PR and marketing and branding and sales and HR and positioning. And it can be a little bit overwhelming. But in order to move beyond those 250 books you are expected to sell, this is what you have to do. You have to begin to think about how do you move the needle and make sales. The next thing you want to do is you want to start building that marketing strategy. Now, I believe you began to build your book marketing strategy the very moment you decide what genre you're going to write in, because it is at that moment that you should be able to start to build an audience profile. Now, what is an audience profile? That is where you are laying out who is going to read your book. Everybody's not going to read your book. If you write spiritual, you're going to pick up people who are probably faith-driven people who care about spirituality. Those are the people who are going to read your book. If you write books for children, those books are primarily going to be read by children and purchased by parents. So you have to begin to identify and build an audience profile. And you should start that the very second you determine what your genre is. Now, a lot of us, of course, all of us are past that point at this point. So what that means is if you didn't start then thinking about your marketing strategy, you must start now. And so you've lost some time, but it doesn't mean that you can't catch up. This is a hurdle that I had to overcome when I published my second book. My first book, I published it as kind of a bucket list thing. I always wanted to write a book. My husband was in Iraq. I'm a military wife, sorry. And I forgot to tell that. And he was in Iraq. He came home. I published a book. I said, hey, guys, look at this. I wrote this Christian fiction novel. And he was like, oh, my God, my wife wrote a book. And then he said, what are you going to do with it? And I said, I'm going to put it on the shelf because I was just trying to fulfill a bucket list goal that I had. And he said, oh, no, we're going to go market that thing. And so we started doing book fairs and going back to my hometown in Alabama. And we did one in Virginia. We were living in Baltimore. We did one there. And I began to sell books. And it was an amazing experience. But what happened when I published my second book in February of 2020? February of 2020, on Valentine's Day, I dropped my second book, which is women's fiction, and decided that I was going to do the same things that I did with the first book. But what happened? COVID happened. And so now I could not do any of those things. And my marketing strategy was thrown out the door and I had to start over. So that's why it's important. Build that strategy, but be prepared to pivot if you need to. Before we get into our 10, our last piece here is to know your brand's power. Knowing your brand's power. And this is so important because you are your brand and your brand is you. People will buy you before they buy your book. What does that mean exactly? I wish I could see everybody's face. I wish I can get everybody to respond to that. But we buy what we trust, right? We buy who we trust. We buy what we trust. And so your brand is essential to you being a successful author and a bestseller. And because people are going to look at you as a subject matter expert, but what are you showing them? What are they seeing when they see you? Do they see your book, your genre, your characters? Are you sending mixed messages with your brand? So if you're not on social media, we're going to talk about that. You need to get on social media. And but your brand isn't just about social media. It is your complete persona. And I want you to know that in order to sell your books, people want to believe that you are a subject matter expert in that particular area. And in order to put that out there into the wind, you have to be strategic about it. So why do we see Steve Jobs? I love Steve Jobs because I believe that he did the most impactful thing when it came to building his brand and building the brand for Apple. He was thinking, I really believe that he set up and he said, you know what? I want this to be about the product and not about me. So I'm going to put on these jeans and nothing exciting about them. I'm going to put on this black turtleneck, nothing excited about it. I'm going to have my little circular glasses, and my little modest haircut. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make the product what everyone sees. But I also want them to know that I'm an expert. I want them to envision me sitting in my basement, tinkering with computers, because I look like a subject matter expert. I look like a computer geek in many ways. And that's sold in a huge way. And I want you to think about that as you build your brand. And some of the steps to building it is you need to identify your reader, because you can't build a brand for someone you don't know. You want to develop your brand voice. You want to figure out your unique selling proposition, what makes you unique. You want to know what you're branding. Okay. And this is a big one because there are so many of us who are doing many things. We publish a book and now we become a publisher. We publish a book and now we become a writing consultant, an editor, and all these different things. However, the challenge becomes, okay, what are you branding? Are you branding yourself as a writer? Are you branding yourself as a publisher? Are you branding yourself as a writing consultant? What are you branding? And you need to be very clear about that. You want to choose your look and you want to apply your brand everywhere. Now, you may say, choose your look. What is what I look like have to do with selling my book? It has a lot to do with it. And just like with Steve here, the way he looked, every time he came on stage, he was wearing the same outfit. We became accustomed to seeing him in this. We became accustomed to trusting him as a subject matter expert, someone who we trust is going to build a good piece of technology, right? So that's what you want to do as well. If you are a children's book author, but yet every time someone sees you, you look like you're about to go out to the club, or on your Instagram, you're always super, super sexy, and you don't talk about your book and you don't really deal with any children's issues. It leaves the impression that, is this really a subject matter expert? Is this someone I want to write a book about bullying in school? Possibly so. And you may say that is so unfair to even see it that way. But unfortunately, our brand truly matters. And so we have to think about the imagery that we're putting out there about ourselves and how that's going to impact our book sales. So our number one tool, of course, is social media. It has to be social media because social media brings something to the table that I think is very unique. One, social media is inexpensive. Okay, so it is a very inexpensive way to promote yourself. Two, your social media platforms will allow you to engage with your audience. And if you are a book writer and you're trying to sell books, you want to be able to engage with the readers. I'm sorry, I think I said wrong before, but you want to be able to engage with the readers, and you want to know who those readers are. That's our author profile. And you want to know how to connect with them and where to connect with them. And what social media will do for you is it's an inexpensive way to connect with your audience daily. Now, I will say it's free because we know that in order to really get the fan base to follow you, you may have to boost some posts and spend some money from that perspective. You want to connect your social media to your website or to your author pages, and that may take some work, some creativity. You may have to outsource to do some of those things if need be. You have to constantly build content, and that is also something that takes time and money. So I won't say it's free, but it's extremely inexpensive. When I was a marketing director in the mall business years ago, if I wanted to promote something that the mall was doing, this is kind of before social media became so hot, I would have to go out and either buy radio spots, which cost me thousands of dollars, or TV spots that cost me thousands of dollars, or a print ad in a newspaper, which would cost hundreds of dollars. Now, if I was still in that industry, all I would need to do is every day engage with my audience on social media. And I can do that without paying a dime, or I can do that with a very small amount of money. So the comment of I don't do social media, and I put this here because, like I said, I have a PR firm, and I often run into people who will contact me and they say, I want you to help me build a brand. And then I'll say, okay, what are you doing? They say, I don't do social media. Anybody else out there? Can you throw your hands up? I don't know if I can see that. Who has said that a couple of times, who don't like social media? I get it. I get it. It is quite invasive, but it can also be very fun. And I manage multiple accounts, and I can tell you that if you don't have a footprint on social media, it is a struggle to sell your book, because you then have to have just a very good following that is beyond friends and family outside of social media. Social media gives you access to people on a global level, and that is something that I don't think any other tool can do. So for those of you who don't do social media, I hate to tell you this, but I'm going to need you to do social media because there is power in social media. Now, do you need to do? You need to know your audience. You need to build an audience profile. You need to craft a consistent message. You may even have a particular color scheme. It may be the color scheme of your book. I do that. My first book was black and red, and so I kind of stick with that on some of my posts. Then you need to select the best social media outlet, and that's where it becomes pretty tough, because sometimes people don't know, are my readers on Twitter, on Snapchat, on TikTok, are they on LinkedIn? Where are my readers? In the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about that, because we don't want to do guerrilla marketing where you're just trying to get everybody, you're trying to reach everybody all at one time. You really want to drill down so that you can connect directly with your particular audience. And in order to do that, you need to understand who and what, who is actually on what particular social media outlets. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then you want to set your posting schedule. Scheduling and posting is a lot, okay? I'm going to tell you that building content for social media is not easy, and especially when you're selling a book. You don't want to go out there every day and say, buy my book, okay? The people who I think sell more books are those who never tell anyone to buy their book, but instead they show that they're a subject matter expert. They engage the audience. They post articles similar to what they're talking about. Let's say they wrote a children's book about bullying. So all the posts, or a lot of their posts, are about bullying. They want to show themselves speaking to different schools about bullying. They want to really promote, anti-bullying initiatives. This is my way of engaging you and letting you know I'm a subject matter expert. I care about this. And then periodically, of course, you want to throw your book in there. You want to show the book. I'm not saying you don't show the book at least once or twice a week, but you don't want to just constantly say, please buy my book, please buy my book. People buy you. So let them get to know you, and let them get to know your natural ability to connect with them on social media. I mean, go live, talk about things, be sincere, let people know I care about this topic, and that's why I wrote about it. And so those are some of the things that you would definitely want to do in order to engage people on social media. But where is your audience? Now, this is a 2021 social media demographics study that was done by Sprout Social. This is a great tool just to know. For those of you who say, I don't do social media, your readers are on social media. They are. And look at these numbers. Facebook, there are 2.7 billion people who are active users every month. 2.7 billion. No matter how much you may hate, say, Facebook, and I don't do that, you have so many potential readers and purchasers who are right there on Facebook. This is a 25 to 34-year-old. Now, that shocked me because the younger generation, I have a 15-year-old. He's like, I'll never do Facebook. Facebook is for old people. I hear that all the time. Not very kind, but that's what they say. But yet it still has a young age group, 25 to 34. Gender, mostly male versus female. That's also very shocking. And then the time spent, 38 minutes a day. I would say for myself, I probably spend double that. I do, because I do manage a lot of Facebook accounts. I won't go through each and every one of these, but I want you to take a look and ask yourself, number one, as we talked before, who is your audience? What's your audience profile? And we can talk a little bit about that when we get to the Q&A session. I want you all to be able to tell me, who is your audience? And drill down. Don't say all children. Don't say I write children's books, it's for all children. There is no book for everyone. So think about your genre, think about your age, who you're trying to reach, and then think about, select 2 or 3 of these to where you can reach that particular audience. That's what I want you to do. So if you write business books, you definitely want to be on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is all about promoting businesses. You've got 738 million people who are users on LinkedIn. This is the age group of 46 to 55. These are business people. What I like about LinkedIn is everything that's posted there is all about business for the most part. And if you post something outside of business, people will come for you. They're like, oh no, we don't do politics. We don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about business. So if you're writing business books, you want to be on LinkedIn. If you're creating books of a book for a young adult, if you write young adult fiction or nonfiction, you may want to definitely consider TikTok. TikTok has 100 million followers, but also TikTok has some of the most innovative tools to create all types of graphics and videos. And we see a lot of silly stuff on TikTok, but nonetheless, it is one of the platforms that I believe is the most powerful when you're talking about getting an immediate response. You can post a video today and have 6,000 people view it overnight. It works, it's so fast. So if you're not familiar with TikTok, get to know if that's your audience. You definitely want to be on TikTok. YouTube, 2 billion followers. Everybody's on YouTube. And this is not hard to do. You can create a YouTube account extremely easy, and you can start making videos and putting those up there. Now, I don't agree with this age group. Well, I do and I don't. My 15-year-old, he loves YouTube because he likes to watch his shows and movies there. So, but I think it goes beyond 25 because I spend time on YouTube too. There's a lot of information there. So for those of you, once again, I don't do social media. This is where a lot of your readers are, and this is a great way to connect with them. So let's move to the next one. Now, a lot of my slides, you're going to see some memes, and they're pretty silly, and some of them you may not understand, but I just wanted to use the memes to kind of show, to really tell a story about these particular tools. So now we're going to talk public relations, and this is my area. This is what I do for a living. Now, what do you need, or how do you use public relations as a self-published author? The very first thing you should do after you really think about your brand and your audience is to write a press release to announce the launch of your book. And these are some of the things that we're going to be doing with Direct to Author, is to offer those types of services. You may not know how to write a press release. It has to be done in a specific way. However, it's a great way to get the media engaged in what you do. Now, what is the difference between public relations and marketing? Marketing is paid engagement. You give me $15K, I buy you TV, radio, broadcast, print, social media booths. That's what we're going to do. We're going to pay for that engagement. Public relations is an organic, unpaid engagement. It's about you building relationships with people and impressing them enough that they give you, or they feel that you're credible enough to give you a space, whether it's in their newspaper, magazine, on the TV. The TV stations call you, hey, we heard you just dropped a book. We want you to come out. We want to interview you. That's public relations. That's an unpaid engagement. Now, is public relations as valuable as marketing? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you put a dollar amount on the number of minutes you get from free marketing from media outlets that cover your book, that is as valuable as the money you would have spent on a marketing budget, and you didn't have to spend it. However, the challenge with public relations is it takes longer. It's an engagement, right? You don't you don't meet somebody on Friday and marry them on Saturday. Well, most of us don't. I don't know. So that's the thing. With marketing, I can go out and I can spend that money immediately and try to see some results of what I'm buying. But with public relations, I've got to build a relationship. I've got to engage people. They've got to get to know me. I've got to get to know them. And that's where things like speaking engagements and different pieces come in and play. What I love about this meme here is never done drugs and recovering drug addict. The goal here, what I wanted you to see is that people trust. You see all the mics in front of the person who's recovering drug addict. If you just wrote a book about overcoming depression due to drug addiction, if you're a recovering addict, you are someone who people will see you're credible to talk about this because you've experienced it. Okay. Someone who's never done anything in that area, yeah, you can write a book, but a lot of times it's the person who connects with the topic. And that's what PR is. PR is going to shine a light and give you a positive spin and make sure the media knows who you are and know that you are a subject matter expert. So with public relations, you're going to tell your story. You're going to make it interesting. You're going to show that you're credible. And from a book writing or publishing perspective, you're going to develop a book launch press release, which is a great way to do it. You're going to make it newsworthy and relevant to current events. And then you're going to disseminate it to a broad audience. Now, I'm going to try to click into the chat box a little bit to see if there are any questions that I can answer quickly. However, I want you to know that what is so important about this press release, and a lot of people may say, people don't even look at press releases anymore. What's the big deal with that? I am someone who believes in traditional marketing as well as new age marketing. Okay. I believe in digital media and social media as well, but public relations is about that engagement. This is how you build a fan base. It's one thing to get someone to buy your book one time. It's another thing to get them to literally wait patiently for you to drop every book because they're going to buy every last one of them. And then for a lot of best-selling authors who there have been thousands of dollars poured into their marketing, that's the approach. That's the appeal that they have, is that they have people who are literally anticipating their books to come out because they're going to buy every last one of them. And that's what you want. So you want that long-term engagement. Now, when you drop a press release, when I say make it newsworthy and relevant to a current topic, it is important that you think about what's happening in the world. Okay. If you're writing a book about depression, if you've written a book about depression and depression through hard times, if you write a press release, you may want to connect it to the fact that we're overcoming COVID as a nation, on a global level. This is how you make your press releases stand up. You connect it to something that people feel is relevant in their lives in the moment. And so it takes some skill to do it, and you may want to hire someone to do a press release for you. But I believe if you wrote a book, you can definitely write a press release. And so please include that in your toolbox. Number 3 is email marketing. I don't know about you guys, but wow, I love email marketing. This is my favorite of all of them. I think that email marketing works. I do a lot of e-news blasts every week, whether it's for my Black Writers Workspace or direct to author, or I'll just send them out for events that I'm hosting here in New Orleans. And you know, how many of them are going to go to spam? It's like anything else, direct mail. You're going to have so many of them going to go into someone's garbage can. That happens. But you send out 300 and 150 of them are actually open, and 75 of that 150 actually responds or acts or read something about your book or purchase your book. How valuable is that? And so email marketing I love because I think it's a great way to connect with your audience in a more direct way than social media. And you can also track the responses. So if you have a Wix account or a Constant Contact account, you can see who opened, who clicked. And that's what's important, because you need that data to see what's impactful, what's moving the needle, what's going to help you make those sales. So email marketing is a form of direct marketing as well as digital marketing that uses email to promote your book and incentivize people to make purchases. Buy my book today, receive a discount. Purchase book today to receive free bookmarks. Come by and see me at this speaking event next week for a free book. These are the types of things that you can push out. Now, how do you get the database in order to start a email marketing strategy or to launch your email marketing campaign? That is always the question that I get. And so what you have to do, once again, you're a business person now. You've taken that the creative hat off or put it to the side, and now you're going to turn your business hat to the front. You have to start collecting those email addresses and finding ways to get people to opt in to give you their email addresses. This is how you begin to create or have this long-term relationship with people. So they don't just buy your book one time, say, buy your book. Okay, can I get your email address? I'm going to be sending out a newsletter. Okay, and then you start sending them something once a week or bi-weekly or once a month, and just keep your name in their mouth and in their brain. Talk about the book, talk about the characters, build a blog, and we're going to talk about that as well. But you have to use all those great skills that you have as a writer to keep people engaged so that you can continue to sell books. Remember, you are your marketing team right now, and you can hire outside help. Nothing is wrong with that. But you still are going to be your own CMO. You're going to be your own chief marketing officer for this book. And so in order to do that, you have to be creative. So once again, how do we get these databases, which is always some of the key things that I'm asked. One thing that I did was I created a private Facebook group. Now, my group is called the Black Writers Workspace. I created it in 2020. And my goal was literally to get about 15 friends I knew who had written books, and we would just talk from time to time and pass resources along. It is now over 12,000 people in the group. So what I did was I set up criteria for how to get in the group. And one of the criteria is to give your email address for an opt-in newsletter. Now, this is optional, but I collect every month hundreds of email addresses through my Facebook private group. And then I use those email addresses to build my database, which is now well over 5,000 email addresses, all people who know they're going to get an email from me. And I began to send out emails to them. So that is one way. So opt-in incentives are another way. And that is you go to your Facebook page or you send out a text and you say, look, you opt in for my email, my newsletter, and you can get a free book, or you can get a free bookmark, or you're going to be giving away something to incentivize them to give you your email, give you their email addresses. In addition to that, you can just ask people, I want to send out this newsletter and I want to send it to you. Is it okay if I get your email address? So don't hesitate to do that. Use your creative writing skills. So you're going to craft a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly e-newsletter. It doesn't have to be super dynamic. It can be one or two different, one graphic and a little write-up. It doesn't have to be, how you get the ones from like CVS and it's 2-3 pages long. You don't have to do that. It could be short, to the point, with some way to click to buy your book. So if you were to do like a character description, you have a picture of your character, do a short description. Please purchase my book today, or enjoy this book today. Click here to buy. It takes them to your website, or it takes them to your author's page. So just that simple. Your goal with your email marketing campaign is to get at least a 30% open rate is what I always shoot for, and maybe a 5% or more click-through rate, which means that they're going to go into the e-newsletter if that's what you're using, or blog, and they're going to actually click the link. So now you've got them. You're getting them to act, and that's exactly what you want to do. So number 4 is blogging. And I don't know, anybody out there, do you know about blogging? You guys are familiar with? Do you have a blog? So one thing I want to say to all of our writers, writing opens so many doors for you, okay? Writing a book has opened so many doors for me. I am often asked to come and speak. I'm asked to come out to schools, to meet with kids, to tell my stories. It can be sometimes overwhelming, but it will also create avenues for you to start a business. It will create avenues for you to engage with people that you may have never engaged with. Depending on your topic, you may be now seen as a subject matter expert. The newspaper in your area may call you every week for a quote for something similar to what you wrote about. There's just so many doors that will open to you. So blogging is just, to me, an extension of all that creativity that you have. Blogging is an online journal in which you share your thoughts about a particular subject with readers. And so that is the goal. And those blogs can be personal, they can be first person, that's what I love about it. And you can talk about different topics. You can talk about your writing style, or you can, what readers can expect for you. You can just use it to communicate with your readers in all types of ways. And bloggers are now becoming credible writing sources in some ways. There are many who aren't, but there are a lot of bloggers who have a huge following. So I want you to really consider creating a blog, attaching it to your websites, or creating one on WordPress and sending it out. And you can send that out as an e-news in your e-newsletter as well. So you want to keep the readers interested, and that's the goal. I don't know how much time I have. Chelsea, can you put it in the chat box for me? So number 5 is speaking engagements. Now, this is one of the ones I love. One thing I've learned about speaking engagements over the years is that this is how I sell more books. I don't know about you guys, but when I speak at an event, I typically will sell 1 or 2 books, even if it's a virtual event. So if you are shy and you don't like to speak, I understand, but push yourself a little bit, especially if you're talking about a topic that is relevant to what's happening in the world. Let's say you wrote a book about marriage, how to make a marriage work. And now every marriage, everybody out there is clamoring to get in your head and learn more from you. Well, that's where you may want to take some classes or get in some organizations that will help you to learn how to speak, because these are great opportunities for someone. Like, you've written something everyone is interested in. Now you are seen as a subject matter expert. Get you a really good, it can be a canned message if you want to. I don't particularly, want you to do that. I want you to be spontaneous and go out there and just rock the crowd with all your knowledge. But if you're very shy, then create a very canned but bold message and be able to take that message with you. And I promise you, the more you speak, the more books you're going to sell. So we did a study on our Black Writers Workspace page, and this was one of the top areas where people said, this is when I sell the most books, is when I'm going out and I'm speaking. And you can also ask people to allow you to speak. Now, you have this book, you have this product. And so it's nothing wrong with, if you find that there is a trade show coming to your area and speaking on a topic that you wrote about, call them up and say, hey, I would love to come out and speak. And, instead of if you're not paying any money or honorariums for it, can I just sell my books? It is a great way to increase your sales. So number 6 is book fairs. And I know a lot of people may say that maybe this should have been number 1 or 2. Well, I love a good book fair. They are fun and exciting and dynamic, and you can do a lot at a book fair. However, with COVID, it has just been really hard to make this happen for a lot of companies and organizations. And so a lot of book fairs have been, stopped or just discontinued. Some of them are beginning to pick up, but this is a great way to sell books. Now, the first probably 3 or 4 book fairs I went on when I published my first book, I hauled in 50 books, and I'm setting my table and putting up my displays, and I sold 1 book. And the second one, I may have sold 2 books. It took time for this to work for me, because I realized that a book fair, whether it's virtual or live, is still something that I have to personally market. So don't go to book fairs and depend solely on the promoter of the fair itself to get people to your table. Build yourself a very dynamic demo table so people can come out and see your book. Do readings live at these book fairs. Get on panels. Utilize this. Ask to speak. Please take advantage of every tool, every piece of it, because this is an opportunity for you to have a very niche market of people in one place. These are all book lovers. So, but you still have to compete with every other book that's on at that particular event. So don't just sign up for a bunch of book fairs, haul in books, and sit at the table. Don't tell anybody you're going to be there. Don't try to position yourself at the event. I don't want to speak. I don't want the panel. I don't want the attention, because you're going to be hauling in books and hauling them home. So please utilize these opportunities. They are very exciting and fun and a great way to kind of connect with other writers as well, but use it so that you can sell books. Number 7 is you want to host events. So like I said, when I started the Black Writers Workspace, I was wow, I didn't, you know, I'm an event planner by trade and PR and all that. And so when I noticed that I was thousands and thousands of people joining the group, I said, well, what am I going to do with this? I've got to do something. So I started hosting virtual book fairs. And I was using a platform called Booth Central, and I do want to put that out there. I got a couple of resources, but Booth Central is one of them. And I was able to host book fairs. And actually, I made money because people would pay to get a booth. And these were all virtual booths, but they all use like a Zoom like platform. So you can go in and talk to the author and you can buy their book. And I began to use it. I think I've hosted about 5 or 6 of those book fairs to date, and I sell the booth spaces. And then I put on a whole, you know, I'll interview writers and editors, and that's going on the live screen at the top of the page of the screen itself. And then at the bottom, you have all of your booths. It is the most dynamic piece of technology I've seen in a long time. So don't be afraid to host an event. It gives you an opportunity to sell your book. It gives you an opportunity to network and connect with other writers, and it gives you an opportunity to make money. And so if you are someone who loves the idea of a pop-up, go to your local malls or go to some outdoor area that allow pop-ups and host a pop-up. And you have a couple of tables and you can sell your book and have some other writers out there and bring in some entertainment. It may sound like a lot, but if you're someone who loves events, this is a great way to do it. So now you're going to be leading the pack. You're going to make it fun, and then you can also make money and book sales. Number 8 is website development. So if you don't have a website, I do advise you to get one. I know you're all self-published. You're rolling out of Lulu. Lulu have probably done I know they've done a fantastic job with you. And now you're like, okay, what do I do now? You are in a position to either start your own website. A lot of people are doing that. Remember, I said there are a million books, that self-published books, that are hitting the market every year. So you're competing with everybody. Okay, so you want to stand out. One good way to do that is to create a website. Now, websites don't have to be extremely expensive. I use Wix. I've had GoDaddy sites. There are many ways to do it, and there are some free ones as well. However, you want to make sure that your website is easy to navigate, it's clear, that you have great content, that you really focus on you as an author and your work, and that, you know, add your blogging. And SEO, which is search engine optimization, is also a great way to do things, because now you're using your keywords in order to get higher up on the Google search engine or Bing or whatever search engine you use. And this gets people to your page faster. And now you're able to actually make those sales. So consider a website. You don't have to have one. Many of you are going to have your books on different author pages, from Amazon to Barnes and Noble, direct to direct to digital or digital to direct. There are so many different platforms you can post your book. And I know that Lulu.com is going to give you some advice on all of that. But I definitely will say that if you want to stand out, creating your own website is a good way to do that. Number 9 is podcasting. If you haven't created a podcast, please do so. It's so much fun. A podcast is a series of spoken word audio episodes, all focused on a particular topic or theme, like cycling or startups or your book or writing. I have a podcast. I actually created it on using anchor.fm, and that's why I want to tell everybody that's the source. You can go and create your podcast page. It is a Spotify company, but you can literally have your podcast go out to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so many other podcasts. It's a great tool. For me, what I do, I record my interviews with authors from my page, and then I pull out the audio portion of it and put it on anchor.fm. So now that is a podcast. And then I put the video portion of it on YouTube. And I am circulating that all over social media. Podcasting is easy. It became very popular as a result of COVID. More people at home. Many of us have just gotten into it, whether it's true crime or, just, oh God, there's so many of them. And now you have the Clubhouse, which is another social media tool where you can go on and host podcasts on it. So there are just so many different ways to do things. And you may go, but I don't do all this technology. I really don't understand it all. I promise you, if you were, and this is kind of the homework for the next 2 minutes, because I'm wrapping up and we're going to get into some Q&A. Give me a couple of these 10 items. We're at 9 now. We're going to go to the 10th one shortly, that you are either using now or will be using in the future. And let's talk about those things. So that's what's important, is that you may not be able to do everything that I mentioned, but don't hesitate to stop, Google it, go to YouTube, learn, call me, anything I can do to help you, because I want to see you be successful at this. And I want to see you be able to make sales. And these are the types of tools that will help you make sales. When you're doing podcasts and you become, once again, that subject matter expert word, people begin to trust you. You're giving yourself credibility. You can do the podcast. It can be all about your book, or it could be somebody about someone else's book. You can do author interviews. It's so many different things you can do with it and with YouTube. And you can just put yourself out there. Now, this is a part of your brand, though. So back to the look, the color scheme, the imagery, connecting who you are with the book itself or what your genre is so important. So this is a great way to get the word out about your book and to position yourself as an expert in your field. Finally, is paid traditional marketing. And I won't go into a lot of details, but you guys know we got billboards, radio, TV, print, direct mail, so many different traditional marketing tools. Those are the things that, when I say traditional, I mean things that people used before social media and digital media became so hot. These were the standard tools when I was a marketing director in the mall industry. We would buy billboards and spend, $2,000 a month on it, or we would buy radio and have to spend $4,000 or $5,000 a month on it. These tools can be expensive, but I still believe in them and I trust that they are impactful. However, it's number 10 because I would not advise anyone at this stage, especially if you're a first-time self-published author, to go out there and spend this kind of money at this point. I really, really wouldn't. That's just me. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying that try social media and digital marketing, try the email marketing, try blogging, do some podcasting, utilize those tools that are much more inexpensive before you make the commitment to do $1,000 or $2,000 a month for a billboard. Okay. Just keep that in mind. So I am going to open it up for questions. And Chelsea, let me know how to handle that. I don't want to get it wrong.
Yes, I can field questions. So everyone who has questions, please drop them in the Q&A and we will get to them as we can. I'm sure everyone's head is spinning. Michelle, you're such a wealth of information, and it's just really amazing to have someone who can speak to the traditional marketing, the billboards, radio ads, doing things in person. I mean, I know a lot of people are focused on digital now and have been, but that doesn't mean that you should neglect the other opportunities out there. So I so appreciate you're able to speak to that. And I think, for me, probably the key takeaway from your presentation was do drugs. And that's the first time I've been able to say that. So thank you for that. To everyone on the webinar, choose your path, pick your poison, and write a book about it is, I think, what Michelle is telling us to do. And I like that. I like that approach.
That wasn't quite it, but okay, I'll take it.
That'll be the only clip that we'll share after this. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you for all of that. And so one of the things that we do have a question in the chat. Again, feel free to drop them in there as we're going through. But one of the things that you said that I think was so important, and that I hope people really review your slides and will take home and really hone in on this, is not only asking yourself, how can I make money from my book, or how can I sell more books and make money that way? But how can I use my book to make money? So the podcasting, the interviews, doing things like that, the social media, and being able to prove that you are a content expert rather than just telling people, hey, buy this book because I'm really good at what I'm doing. So all great takeaways. We tell our authors that all the time. And we've got a question from David that I think is really interesting. I'd love to hear your take on this. But he says, Michelle, can you explain a little bit about how you pivoted when your second book came out during a pandemic? What did you do differently? So unexpected, of course.
It was very unexpected. I started first the online Facebook group and just wanted to connect with other writers. And what I found in doing that, where there were so many writers like me who were just petrified of what are we going to do? We have these books, we put our heart and mind in them, and then there is no way to go to the book fairs. And so I began to do more email marketing. I really did. I tapped into my database of friends and family, and I start to send out information about the book. I really start to supercharge my social media, posting probably 3 times a week about different topics that led to conversations about the book. Of course, I started the Black Writers Workspace, which was very helpful. And then I started thinking about what would a publicist do, and I started trying to get interviews with different, people who would interview authors, and that's something I didn't talk a lot about, but get those interviews. Those interviews are so beneficial. I would put that under the whole speaking engagement tool, is that, those virtual interviews that people do. Some people, you may pay them to do it. People pay me to interview them. And it's very interesting. I've been able to make money in an odd way, and I wasn't really planning for any of this. But nonetheless, it has opened so many doors for me. So the pivot was hard, and it still is, because I'm still learning how to sell my book without being in front of a reader. But I'm so ready to get back out there at these events, because the events really do help a great deal. So take on those speaking engagements. Someone call you and say, speak at the church, it's a virtual, or speak, or let me interview you. Don't hesitate to say yes. Those things are going to be very powerful for you.
Yes, that's right. If you're an introvert, Michelle's coming for you. No excuses. Get out there. So I know that you had asked what folks have that in the marketing vein that they're working on. And Christopher says, planning on podcasting. He's got a website, planning on blogging, social media. Will be making connection to current events, as my theme is democracy versus autocracy. You have epic content. That's great. And you want to learn about email utilization from lists and marketing. And a follow-up question, these aren't exactly connected, but Chris asked both of these, so I'll throw them out at you at the same time. He's also asking for pop-up tables in an open space. Do you need a permit? So on the logistical side of in-person events there.
Yes, you do. You need a permit. You want to call the city and ask for permission to do those pop-ups. And then you can, I know here in New Orleans, you can you can sublease kind of the tables to other writers. You can also do some of these things at bookstores. So yes, you definitely want to do it the right way, and get your permits.
Perfect. And then he was asking, do you have any quick tips or if you don't have an email list, and we know how valuable that is. And so I thought that was a great point in your presentation, but if you're just starting out and you haven't built out that email list, do you have any tips for folks to get started?
Well, I tell you, you have to get out there and ask for emails. You got to be a lot more proactive than you think. Buy-in lists, I don't advise it. I don't think that it's a good way, because people will scam you. That is one thing also I didn't talk about. I wish I had more time, but there's so many scammers out there when it comes to self-publishing. So please, everybody, pay attention to who you're working with, and know that people will try to take advantage of you. But yeah, you got to get out there. You got to ask people who are like-minded, ask other writers, other readers to follow you. You also want to join some groups, join some meetup groups, join some writing communities that are online. You don't even have to leave the house. There are so many online book clubs. Get in them and then post and say, hey, I'm giving away a free book if you would share your email address with me. And I promise you, you don't have to give free books away, but you can give away something to incentivize them, or you can do a raffle. People don't mind giving it to you, but you have to ask for it. And you'll be amazed if you're around if you're around readers who know who you are and understand your genre and want to connect with you, they don't mind sharing it. So just get out there and ask. There are a lot of groups, and the private groups are the better ones, because now they're not worried about, they know that whoever's in the group, they're all like-minded people, or they should be like-minded people.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that goes back to your point about knowing your audience, because if you know your
Mhm.
audience, you know where they are, then asking them for the email address and signing up for content they're interested in shouldn't be that harrowing. It should really make sense. So you've got a couple questions left. So FR Leonard is asking, is direct to author available in the UK?
Direct to author is available to everyone, everywhere. It is web based 100%. So, yes, you can access it in the UK.
Yes, and we'll have to have you back to talk about direct to author. I know a lot of folks are excited about that. Let's see, David has another question. I have a popular website and write nonfiction. I'm about to publish a fiction humor book. Both topics are related, but one is serious, one is not. Should I create a separate website for the new humor book or include it in the nonfiction website? Great question, David.
Well, that is such a great question. I'm going to tell you, David, I would create one website that is for you as an author, and all of your books will be under that author website. For me, it's authormichelledjackson.com. And you're going to see all of my books. And my books aren't related as well. So you can either dedicate a page to each so you can explain, what that particular book is about. But I would not try to do too many separate websites. And I would also be very careful about your naming for your social media, so that it doesn't confuse people. This is where I get confused, that I'm looking for writers and they want to connect with me, but their website may be author Michelle D. Jackson, and their social media is, the Twitter is Bang Bang Books, and then the Facebook is, Honk Honk Books, and it becomes so confusing. So just, think about, this is your brand. So I would create one website, list your books under the website, dedicate a page to each, explain each one, but know that these are all under your umbrella.
That is a great answer and a great question. And I agree. I mean, especially today in the world we live in, you mentioned this, but when people hear about you, they're going to Google you. And if 4 different usernames or handles come up, or like you said, your picture of you going out to the club, it is what comes up first. And your children's book listing is right under that. Maybe not great. So I think that's a great solution, because it is hard. I mean, there's so much that goes into marketing as an independent author. So having multiple websites for every book is a challenge. And so I think streamlining that would be really helpful. So let's see. I think that we have gone through our questions. I'll give you a second while we're wrapping up here. But Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, everyone who tuned in, there will be recordings sent out. We will also post this to our YouTube channel. So definitely take a look. And then what is the best way to get in touch with you, Michelle?
The best way is to, wow, that's a good question. So author Michelle D. Jackson, www.authormichelledjackson.com. You can go there. You can send me something via contact, or you can email me at events@prsolutionsllc.org. That is my public relations email address, but I use it for authors. I do some consulting, and I've been, trying to get more and more time set aside to help more writers. And I'm so excited about this new pivot with the direct to authors, because in a week or so, you'll be able to go on there. And if you need any assistance with anything from writing press releases to editing, we will be able to do those things for you. I have a team of people that will do that. So really excited about that. So don't hesitate to connect with me also on directtoauthor.com.
Amazing. And we'll have to have you back to talk about that, of course. So thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. And Michelle, thank you again for sharing all of your knowledge. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.